water, earth, fire, air. Those are the four main elements making up the Avatar universe. For a long time, they've been thought to represent separate elements living in harmony and never mixing. The construction of Republic City in the Legend of Korra changed it all in terms of creating a unique blend of mixed citizens living under one roof. If you think about it in terms of mixing, the same applies for subbending like ice or metal. These elements are not just subcategories of water and earth, they're mixed elemental bending. In this video, I'll go over each principal element and show how their subskills are in fact only possible through their interactions. Now hop on your flying bison cause you're in for a ride. Yip yip! Before I turn to our first element of discussion, waterbending, I want to begin by taking a look at the powerful skill that is energy bending. According to legends, it is said that energy bending predates all other elemental bending arts, the birth of the Four Nations, and even the first Avatar Wan. If you remember correctly, the skill first appears in the series during Aang and that nasty Lord Ozai's epic final battle. After being gifted with the knowledge of energy bending by the last living lion turtle, Aang, probably being jet-lagged by all that travel, understands his new ability's meaning a few moments just before the end of the fight. And that, my little benders, allowed Aang to take away the Phoenix King's firebending for good. That'll teach him. But what actually happened inside Lord Ozai's body and soul for his firebending to just disappear without a trace? To understand this, we have to go back to a time where the representative of good, Rava, ran free, and humans lived on giant lion turtles. Before the Avatar was even a thing, humans were given the ability to use one of the four elemental bending styles to go hunt and pick fruits outside of town as long as they came back to give the power back. And as you know by now, Wan broke that one simple rule, starting the Avatar lineage. Okay, how does this transfer of power actually work? To put it in simple words, the lion turtle has to bend the receiver's inner energy. This means that for a short time, the host's whole being is reconfigured. Now, are we talking about a physical or a spiritual change? This was left a bit unclear in Avatar until an evil waterbender stirred some trouble in the Legend of Korra. Enter Amon. Amon, aka Noatak, or that creepy masked guy who should have bought waterproof makeup, has the ability to take away people's bending. Now, wait a minute, isn't he supposed to be a waterbender? Does that mean waterbenders can energy bend? Well, if you think about it, healing through waterbending is a sort of energy bending, right? When Korra is found unconscious on a beach in the episode Beginnings Part 1, she is pulled down into a pool of spirit water in order to be healed from the dark spirit that has been infecting her. So here we have it, my little fire ferrets. Energy bending affects both body and soul. Now let's go back to the Equalists' leader, Amon, for a minute. It is revealed that Amon learned from Dearest Dad how to bloodbend, and through this now illegal technique, succeeded in severing people's bending connection. It's sort of like Ty Lee's chi blocking technique, but like really creepy, and the effects are, well, permanent. This makes waterbending linked to energy bending to some degree. And since energy bending is the source to all types of bending, it's not crazy to think that they're all linked in some way or another and can be mixed together to create whole new forms of bending. Let's take the classic example of ice bending, shall we? As we know, this freezing ability is practiced by waterbenders, but how exactly do they create ice? Granted, ice is made out of water, obviously, but to make it solid, you need a good cold breeze, don't you? This makes ice bending a mixed type of bending between water and air. A good example supporting this claim would be the breath of ice technique, which literally shows the waterbender blowing air towards a target, enveloping it with ice. A waterbender can also use a mix between water and fire to create a form of mist or steam to blind their enemies or put on a show. Just like that time Katara disguised herself as the ghostly painted lady to scare off Fire Nation soldiers out of the small fishing village Jianghui. Now I could go on and on about waterbending, but let's make a stop in the Earth Kingdom to mix things up a little. Earthbending must be one of the most versatile of the bending arts. After all, it is the element that holds everything together. This fact makes it easier to mix with other elements. Let's turn to our favorite self-proclaimed best earthbender in the world, the one and only, the Boulder! No, I'm just kidding. I'm talking about Toph Beifong. While being trapped in a steel box by her kidnappers, Toph invented what would become Republic City's police force's favorite, metal bending. How is metal bending linked to other elements, you ask? Well, one good example would be how metal benders can liquefy metal. Remember when Korra was learning how to metal bend and Suyin showed her? A small metal boulder was floating between Toph's daughter's hands as she liquefied it into various shapes. Metal as we know it can be liquefied under a lot of heat. This would mean that an amount of firebending is involved in the process. Mixed bending as we know it so far uses one main element while adding a bit of another to create new skills. Just think about those retractable metal wires Republic City police officers use to swing around town or catch criminals. The metal is heated subtly using firebending to liquefy it, then hardens when it reaches its aim and back to a malleable metal before hardening once more. Firebending seems to go hand in hand with earthbending in the series. We've seen the jolly earthbender Bolin and the evil Gazan, but also Avatar Roku and Avatar Kyoshi use lava bending on a few occasions. I don't think I need to go into great detail to explain this one, just look at this boiling fiery pile of lava. Touch it and let me know if you feel some firebending in there. Or maybe don't. As was explained in the CBR video, a new subbending skill is revealed. Glass bending, a sub-skill of sand bending, is also the direct result of mixed bending. I strongly encourage you to check it out after this video, because we're now moving to firebending. While earthbending seems to have quite an attraction to firebending when it comes to mixing the elements, firebending chooses air. The first example that comes to mind is combustion bending, a rare technique used by the originally named Combustion Man and the scary-looking Lady Plea. This technique involves channeling chi through the forehead. Both combustion benders had a very weird-looking third eye tattoo inked right in the middle of their face. Whether it helps them focus the transparent beam that comes out of it, or they just think it looks really cool, is yet to be confirmed. Although technically firebenders, no flame really comes out of that head of theirs. Then why are they called firebenders? Well, because of the explosion that results in the impact of the beam. When it hits something, it all goes boom. What happens is that the surrounding air superheats, which produces this dynamite-like energy. Believe me, you don't want to get in its way. So here we have air pressure and fire mixed into one of the most explosive bending types, pun intended. Now let's get to lightning bending, which is often referred to as lightning generation. I've been in a constant struggle about this one, so I'll need your help in the comments below for sure. We know it's mainly practiced by firebenders, but at the heart of its nature, does it even involve fire? I think lightning generation is more of a cultural thing that the Fire Nation mastered instead of a bending art limited to firebenders. Hear me out. Lightning bending is produced by separating the bender's internal positive and negative energies and transforming these polar energies into one deadly lightning bolt. The user needs to be in a total state of peace unless he wants his body to go kaboom. The keyword I want you to focus on right now is energy. Doesn't it then link lightning generation to energy bending in some ways? Do we have a mixed bending between energy and fire, or something more pure beyond the four elements? If this is true, then any bender type could learn how to use lightning generation. And since Republic City now uses the technique to power the town, I would not be surprised to see more of those types pop up in the future. We've almost arrived at the end of our destination, but before we say our goodbyes, let's talk about airbending. As we've explained recently at CBR with our video Why is Airbending So Deadly, airbending is quite the versatile art. While we haven't seen any fire tornadoes yet, commonly called firenadoes, nor any snowstorms, uncommonly called snorms, there is one rare ability that airbenders use I believe is mixed bending. When Zahir loses the life of his life plea, it is believed that he gained the ability to fly by renouncing his earthly attachments. What we have here is a form of mixed spirit or energy bending with air. But that's not all. Unlike Jinora's spiritual or astral projection ability, Zahir's physical body floats through the air with ease. The fact that, unlike Korra, who uses fire to propel herself, he defies the laws of gravity means that he could be using what I would call, let's say, gravity bending. Think about it, while he floats through the air, he doesn't really need wind to navigate. This means that his body controls the pull of Earth's rotation. Talk about an OP skill! Unfortunately for us, Zahir was captured just a bit after acquiring the ability. Who knows where Zahir could have taken this? Just like lightning generation used to be a thing of legend, flight could eventually become more widespread. And it could even evolve into something much bigger and dangerous. With the revival of the Airbenders due to the harmonic convergence, there's no telling what else is in store for the Air Nomads. Gravity bending in the wrong hands could be devastating or even apocalyptic. Like I explained before, each element not only has a connection to the spirit, but also to the body of the bender. If we take genetics into account and the mixing of cultures in the Avatar universe, we clearly could end up with Earthbenders or Waterbenders. Come to think of it, I've got a feeling that Bolin might actually be one of the first type. Remember that moment he saved the day by suddenly bending Gazan's lava without ever training for it? I honestly find it quite suspicious. But after all, his father San was originally from the Earth Nation and his mother Naoki from the Fire Nation. While his brother Mako clearly inherited from his mother's side, do you think Bolin might have inherited from both? I believe so myself. This could change the whole future of the franchise and open up to, pardon my French, a plethora of new cultures and powers. Imagine plant benders, light benders, mind benders, sound benders, anything you want benders. The sky's the limit. Wow, you guys were on fire with that latest glass bending reveal video. Spoiler alert, this is not the last bending reveal we've got in store for you. What kind of other bending do you think is out there? Keep the discussion going in the comments below and see you soon.